Well, come on. Yes, we're live now.
Yay! Jennie!
Well, we've got a very interesting topic, haven't we, today?
Well, I think it is one of the big thing, isn't it? Relationship, really. Whether it's in normal time or in pandemic time, I thought it'd be a really quite interesting kind of topic to talk about and see how people feel really about their relationships. How do they cope with relationships, and what are their challenges, and how can we perhaps, with some little techniques and little ideas and little tools, give them those ideas to actually be able to be in better relationships.
Absolutely. And did you notice your own voice tone as soon as you started talking about relationships? Because at the moment, of course, it's all enhanced, it's all more apparent where people are struggling with their relationships. They're either completely alone in a lockdown. I'm not sure how it is over there in Jersey still, but here in England, and certain people are shielded. So they're either isolated or they have that intensity of relationship, because whilst they might have been previously looking forward to coming home, to having a meal with the family, now they've got breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks, all with the same people quite often. And so we kind of might be overdoing a good thing in certain situations. And yes, it is very much at the forefront of our lives, because isn't that what we do it all for, Claire? Isn't that why we work? Isn't that why we look after ourselves? Isn't that why? Because we want good relationships. What's the point in having all this wonderful stuff if there's no one to share it with?
And I think it comes back to prehistorical time, isn't it, Jennie, when really people started living in tribe because, well, first they were living in tribes so they didn't get eaten in the middle of the night. So some were guarding whilst the others were sleeping. But, that's what life is about. It's about sharing your life. It's about, having people around you, sharing your love and receiving love. And that's quite powerful in so many ways, isn't it?
Yes, and in that communication comes all of the kind of hiccups when things go wrong. And we have it presented to us in every film that we watch, and certainly in sitcoms, and most profoundly in soap operas. And often it's where we take our guide from relationships. And I just wonder how we all get along with each other after watching some of the stuff that's on TV now.
There's something that really hit me when we did when I was doing your course, and it was the five. There's five things about relationship that you need to really kind of connect with the person. So remind me, with the level, is it 5 levels? What is it called?
Well, there is loving someone, and there is being loved. We all perhaps have an idea of what it might be like to be adored, worshipped, loved, etc., without us wanting to receive it. We might be in the land of the stalker now. Being loved is one thing. Receiving love because you want to receive it and give it back is another. This reciprocity where we truly have a positive relationship. But you're absolutely right, Claire. In terms of how we love, we tend to love and call it love. We love according to our own idea of what that is. And to get a little bit rude with you for a moment, when we're in puberty, when we're growing up, when we're teenagers, it's said that boys, it's a male-female divide, that boys feel loved by having the physical touch, sex, shall we say. They feel that, oh, I'm loved, she loves me because we've had sex. And women feel loved if they are girls, when they are respected, when they're saving themselves. Oh, he does all these things for me and I haven't even given him any sex yet. You know, that's the touch part of relationship. And if we're all honest, you know, it figures far less in life, in long-term relationships, than people like to think. I know there'll be exceptions to the rule, and I'm expecting comments. That's partly why we're doing this. We want comments from people. Come on. Though everything is geared up to promote that idea. For example, even as we talked about buying underwear in Marks and Spencer's, you know, there's one of our most respectable department stores, it tends to, the media uses sex and relationships in order to sell us stuff. Scantily clad ladies over cars in showrooms at these seminars and wonderful events of major car companies. Scantily clad ladies holding up scores in boxing matches, etc. We tend to also get males doing the same thing now, and I'm told by media experts that's to capture the homosexual community, you know, because women look at women and men look at women. Women look at women, it's said, because they want to become like them. What can I do to myself to become more appealing? So using women, young, scantily clad, beautiful women, is a way of selling us stuff. And it creates this ideal within the mind of the purchaser, the consumer. We're in a consumerist society still, that the ladies in the magazines, on the billboards, etc., is something that we need to aspire to in order to have a long-term mate. And even those ladies on the billboards don't look like those ladies in real life, you know. So we have this artificial persona, if you like, to live up to. Men as well, you know, with the advent of the superhero films. Aren't we all expecting our men to be superheroes, Claire, as well?
Of course, of course.
I am getting to your. We've just covered the one aspect, which is touch. There is an element of touch, even if it's hugs. And I think we're finding that, and that's why I've started with that one that you've put from the course. Started with that one because it is denied to many at the moment. Those people that we're dating, those people that live alone, that don't have somebody to even give them a hug, never mind something more affirming. So if you as a person, and I'm talking now about us as individuals, before we talk about relationship, we've got to have that relationship with ourselves. What happens within us? How do we feel loved? And I think what you experienced from the training, Claire, is that everybody has a different idea on what this love is. And touch is very important for some people. And if they are denied that, then, or if it's not given to somebody that they are enamored with, why won't you have sex with me? Why won't you do this? Why won't you do it? You can't possibly love me. Then it makes a difference to them feeling loved. So touch is one thing, even if it's a peck on the cheek. If you remember, Claire, just to keep with the touch for the moment, there was one lady, one anecdote I told you on the course, a long-term relationship, man and wife, been married a long time. And she said to me, do you know, I don't think he loves me anymore. We're just a habit. We get on. We're really good friends. But, do you know, I said, what exactly was it in the first year or two of marriage that made you feel loved? And she said, well, every time he went to work, as soon as he left the house, he would kiss me gently on the cheek. He would hold my cheek and just a little peck on the cheek and say, Bye then, see you later. And it made me feel loved. I know it's a silly little thing, she said, but it's these silly little things that add up and get momentum to the point where she didn't feel loved anymore. So, crafty me said to her, just as he's going to sleep at night, just when you're all relaxed, maybe just say, not in a demanding way and not we need to talk sort of a way, just as you're turning over, do you remember what you used to do? You used to kiss me lightly on the cheek, just as he's falling asleep. You used to kiss me lightly on the cheek as you left for work. And I don't think you realise how much that made me feel loved. I love it when you do that. Lo and behold, the next day, he started to do it again. It was so important to her. And I think the first step, Claire, is to realise what makes us feel loved. And the other person, you see, does love us, very often loves us emphatically, though they're not demonstrating love in the way we think we want to receive it. So touch is only one element. It's just one element of love. The other element is gifts. Well, I know he loves me because he's always buying me nice things. He's always giving me stuff. Look what he bought me. Honestly, witnessed this several times, but the one I brought up in the course was a very good friend of mine who was a bit of a Casanova. And was known to be in the offices in which he worked. And he, I know, was having an affair with more than one lady. And I was just flabbergasted the one day where he was showing the same ladies that he was doing his Casanova-ing with the beautiful, expensive necklace that he'd bought his wife for Christmas. And he said, obviously, I love my wife very much. Look what I've bought her. And she probably does feel very loved by him because he buys her expensive gifts. And his philandering, he didn't see as any problem whatsoever. He was breaking hearts all over the place. He put the idea of gifts above the idea of touch. Do you understand what I mean? Because when I spoke to him and asked him kind of casually, what the hell are you doing? These girls mean nothing to me. I do love my wife. Okay. Right. Okay. It's his idea of love. And if the relationship works, who are we to interfere? You know, maybe that's come to me through age, because when I was young, how very dare anybody have anyone else in their life that might be fulfilling one of these love requirements. So the first one I've mentioned is touch, and the next one is gifts. If I just delve a little deeper, Claire, is there anything that you can remember or from your own relationships? Let's just get personal, shall we? What makes you feel loved?
Yeah, so I like the little attentions, you know, because obviously I'm single. I've been single for a long time. I'm looking for somebody just in case, you know, it's people watching. But and I think it's the little things where you don't have to say, can you do this? Or can you do this? Or can you do this? Because, you know, you always, you know, you're doing everything yourself. So those little things that are being done for you without having to ask for it, or, you know, I feel that's something that's really important. And I'm also a hugger. So I've been missing hugging and kissing people for the last 4 months, something terrible. It's a good job my children are here, because they've been getting a lot of hugs, and my daughter's like, come on, leave
Mm.
me alone. But so
Yeah.
those are probably the two things that, you know, are for me are quite important. Just the doing the things without having to ask, and those little details which will make a difference, and that, yeah, that kind of, that hugging, and, you know, that kind of feeling, you know, in somebody's arms is really quite important.
Yes, and the reason why I've put you on the big screen, so to speak, is because I know you're feeling a bit, ooh, I saw your state change. I do that to highlight you and what you've said, because it is so important, Claire, so important. And what you've just said must resonate with so many. So how it feels to you, and what you say the little things are, can sometimes, like we say, over time become the big things. You know, this idea of a simple hug, whether it's platonic or not. You know, the touch is important, but you've just touched on another aspect, which is service. Service, doing things for somebody because you want them to have a better experience. Just to put us back on track again, both of us here. When you love someone, or when you want to naturally bring them pleasure, make their life easier, men, listen up. The women that do everything, particularly, as you say, if you live on your own, you've got kids to look after and whatever, and suddenly there's somebody else. Oh, the washing up's done. Oh, goodness. Men don't realise the impact of this. Walking into, oh, I better go and wash up then, or fill the dishwasher. Oh, the fairies have been. Oh. I mean, can you describe that feeling, Claire? I mean, because love is not just our intimate relationships, it's with family as well, you know, people that we live with. Can you describe that feeling, that joy, that maybe somebody's done something for you that you usually have to do yourself?
I know, it's that surprise moment, and you just think, oh, yeah, and you feel really quite special because somebody's done the dishes. I know the dishes, or getting the bins out, and you're like, oh, like I know the children do it, but, you know, so it is love of my children and the things that they do. So when I'm moaning constantly all the time about the dishes not being done, and I arrived in the morning and they've been done, I just feel like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's really nice. I feel really good, you know. You
Yes,
feel very good. So when you feel good, you want to give good as well.
exactly. And it
And
becomes its own wonderful vicious circle, its own positive circle of excellence, as we say. It goes around, comes around. And so, because you feel good, then you want to do something to make them feel good. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't it? You know, that lift, and I think certain people that are watching this may not understand that, but that lift makes one feel honoured, makes one feel well, what word would you use?
well, I guess it's, you know, like that value kind of things. I use value a lot in terms
Yeah,
of customer service.
yeah,
When you talk about service, if you make the other if you're valuing that other person, you know, they're going to be becoming loyal. And that's I know we talk about customer service, which is a little bit different, but I guess it's the same in a relationship. If somebody value what you do, you will be more loyal to that person, because, you know, you'll give it in return, you know. So valuing something will bring loyalty in so many ways, and whether it's personal or business.
Well, you're absolutely right, because that is your arena, isn't it? Giving service. And I think you take things to a higher level when you go into these companies and hotels and turn them around, because it's not just about, and I had this conversation recently actually with someone, it's not just about being served. If you're served, and we're now talking about business, going into a hotel or a cafe or any arena, and this story that was relayed to me was from a guy who'd gone to a drive-through, And yes, the drinks and the meals, they're all very standard. They all taste the same. They're supposed to fight to keep up their standards, etc. But the way he was served, it was like the Coca-Cola was thrown at him. And afterwards he realised, oh, when he'd driven away, there's no ice in there. I asked for ice, and I asked for a large, and there's 1.5 inches at the top. So I've really got a medium drink in a large cup. And there's no point complaining, is there? He said, yes, because the guy at the top, or the lady, or whoever it is that's managing that particular branch, I sure would like to be alerted to the fact that you're disappointed. How many others are being disappointed? So it's not just about service, it's about pleasantries. And the way you teach people when you go into companies, and I've noticed, is making people glad, happy to serve, because then they get the good vibes back, don't they? It's not just about doing a good job, it's doing it because you want to, and you want to receive something back from the person, not just their wages. You want to receive back that love from the customer when you've gone that extra mile, when you've received excellent service. And then, of course, the customer wants to tell everybody else how wonderful it was.
Yeah, and every job is important, every single job. I mean, you can't run a hotel without a kitchen porter. So, when I was in hotels, and you speak to one of the kitchen porters and say, oh, I'm only a KP. I say, well, you're only a kitchen porter. We wouldn't have a hotel. We couldn't run a restaurant if we wouldn't have you as a kitchen porter, making sure that we had plates, we had dishes, we had glasses, which were clean. Everybody brings that, and everybody, if you love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, whether you're a kitchen porter or whether you're the head chef, everybody brings their part of love in the business.
Absolutely. And it is love, and those are relationships. You have relationships with the people you work with the people that you work for, to give service to someone. And certainly if you're in a surly mood, if you're not happy in your job, no matter how excellent your service may be, if it's not delivered with a genuine smile, or even fake a smile to begin with, because you'll get a genuine one back and then yours will be genuine. This NLP stuff really works. All of a sudden you're actually enjoying what you're doing, because you are recognizing the effects of that relationship. Those of us that work alone and don't have much interaction with others, we are so delighted even to go to the shops now. It's like we talk, we check out chicks, and we go, oh, have a good day. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad this shop is open. Thank you. Yes, service. We've got touch, we've got gifts, and we've got service. There is one more, and I'm going to dig around a little bit so that it has impact. Do you remember?
Oh, no, I can't remember. Ellis, I see Ellis is here watching watching us. Ellis, what do you think? What would be the fourth one? Ellis loves NLP as well. She's yes, hypnotherapy and NLP. She loves it. What's the fourth one then? Remind me.
Affirmation, being told that you are loved. Now, this is a bone of contention, because some people say they love you and they sign their cards love from, and emails love. I don't know if there's much love involved in some of them, but some people, being told that they're loved, they just assume that must be correct. I know this person loves me because they signed my birthday card. Love. No, we might think that is laughable sometimes, though I have met, well, it's mostly ladies, I must say, in my experience, that have said to me, well, I know he loves me. And perhaps everybody else knows he's cheating. I know he loves me. He tells me every day. He'll say, love you, at the end of every phone call. So if you really are somebody that needs to hear that and you believe that, I mean, I'm not discounting all the times that you're told you're loved and you are loved. But if affirmation is the only one on the list and you're not getting any touch, any gifts, or any service, it might be time to revisit. Am I loved? Because he tells me I'm loved every day. And we would say with NLP, okay, when he tells you that you are loved, what's his expression? Is there eye contact? What's his tone of voice? What's his body language? And if you really are in that situation, and we've guided people through this, haven't we, Claire? If you're really in that situation that you truly, honestly believe that you're loved, and yet it's suddenly come into question because the other aspects of love are lacking, and you sit down and you say, this is the sit-down conversation. I just wondered, could we have a chat about things and how you're feeling? Well, of course I love you. I go to bed with you, don't I? Wake up every morning with you. Look, of course I love you. And if you need to explore that a little bit more, that's the time to say, well, do you know, this is how I feel loved. It may seem a little thing to you, but, you know, just do the washing up occasionally. Surprise me with something, because that's what I'm doing for you. And they might say, because they have their own idea of love, well, I don't see why that's important. I know you do these things for me, but I never really thought that's because you love me. But I've been doing these things all these years, and you don't think I'm doing them because I love you. Of course I'm doing it because I love you. And it'll enhance their relationship with you as well. Thinking, oh, you're picking on the washing up. You're doing the washing up because you love me. Well, I don't want dirty plates around, of course, but I know you're not going to do it, so I might as well do it myself. Though if you do it and surprise me by doing it, that gives me a lovely feeling of being valued. It's a little thing, doing the washing up, yes. And then if they don't do it, you know,
next level.
What we're talking about here is communication, and perhaps communication in a longer term relationship becomes less because we get comfortable, because we take the other for granted, because we have our little niggles in life, you know, which seem, although they're mundane, they seem to take precedence over the relationship. And, you know, I'd like to say to you folks that your relationships, your intimate relationships, are really the most important thing in life. It's why you do everything else. So it's time to enhance those relationships. And if you haven't got one, you know, there are human beings everywhere.
So if you haven't got one, which goes nicely into my next question.
Okay, well, here we go. We're getting interesting now.
So when you're looking for a new relationship, there are 4 factors of relationships, isn't it? So you really would like to meet somebody that you can connect on different levels.
I think that the first thing is to find out for yourself that your first primal relationship is with yourself. What makes you feel good? And a lot of people don't know themselves very well, and they take their lead, as we've said, from TV, films and sitcoms, etc. But what makes you feel loved? What are you looking for in a relationship? You know, that we can look at other people's relationships and say, I don't really understand why they're together. He could do so much better than her, or she could do so much better, because they're just looking at the physical. And they really have got no idea about what they bring to each other. The best relationships begin with you knowing what you need and want and what will make you feel fulfilled. And, you know, your physicality has a lot to do with that. Of course it does. But sex and touch, it's a function of love. It's an expression of love. It's not love itself.
Mm. And you've got to also be at the same level as somebody in terms of the mental. And so, yes, there's the physical, but there's the mental part of it, isn't it? And you've got the mental, you've got the emotional, you've got the spiritual. So those are areas that sometimes we forget. And actually, if you're not at the same level with that person, that's where maybe things are starting to disconnect after the passion kind of starts.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said for passion. Come on, we like a bit of passion. Yeah, but you're quite right. What is beyond that? Where are the good conversations? Where are the experiences to share? Where they've had a different experience of life to you? No, it is wonderful. It is truly wonderful to share the same experiences, of course. And as we discussed last time, that shared experience is in and of itself fabulous, because some people experience it visually, some people experience it kinesthetically, and we can swap notes on our particular viewpoint and look back on situations that even at the time were negative, but now we find funny. You know, the wonderful idea of being in a long-term relationship, it's brilliant because you can look forward to things too, though there also is the level that you get to, as you've just said, beyond the physical, where the other person just is on your wavelength. We might say, to use an auditory phrase. You're singing from the same hymn sheet. Though those that drive you around a bend and up the wall, to use all the phrases, sometimes, you know, the ones that initially we perhaps don't get on with, they can reveal something to us about our own experience, where we are presented with a different viewpoint, where we can expand our awareness. It isn't always that you meet somebody and, oh, they're exactly the same as me. Isn't it wonderful? You know, opposites attract quite a lot of the time. And so working through those differences and engaging in their lives, rather than you meeting somebody that does the same work as you, they like the same stuff as you, you know, after a while, perhaps you would be wanting to enhance that relationship with more outside interests. You know, you explore your hobby and I'll explore mine, and then we can talk to each other about those things. But yes, you are right that if the relationship is based purely on touch, then beyond that, if there's no connection emotionally, and there's no kind of mental stimulation about ideas and concepts, etc., then yes, those relationships can still work if that's all you want from that, you know, and you get your other stimulation elsewhere. So if we're talking about a well-rounded relationship, which I think you are, Claire, there does need to be other elements too. Yes.
And I guess that's probably what's been happening also with the pandemic, where everybody was suddenly in the same house at the same time, all the time, doing the same thing and living the same experience. You were not actually creating an outside experience that you can come back and discuss and talk about, you know, with the partner. And, you know, so everybody had the kind of the same experience at the same time. And that kind of, you know, again, that's about communications, but you're not bringing anything, you know, from the outside. It's like everybody's kind of on each other for the whole 2 or 3 months or 4 months that we've been in confinement.
I'm smiling because I've got some wonderful neighbours here. They're a young family. He's a fireman. Hello, Dave. He's a fireman. And he's got such a wonderful family. And they've been making guitars.
Oh, wow.
So he's a young boy and he's interested in guitars. And he made, I've just seen these posts on Facebook, he made a guitar that the body of the guitar looked like the TARDIS from Doctor Who, because he's a Doctor Who fan as well. So they've been making these guitars, and they've had water slides in the garden, and there's been all sorts of commotion, and I love it. He said to me, I'm sorry if the noise is a bit loud. I said, no, I want to hear human beings. I want to hear, and they have a ball. They have a lovely time in their garden. And so I think it really depends on how you can enhance the relationship between all of you in the family, you know. With the mundane out of the way, you know, the washing up's been done. It's all about washing up with me. I don't know what that is. The beds have been made. What else do you do? There's only so much you can do in the house. Get into the garden, do stuff that's different. And I just love the way they're keeping their family relationships fresh, if you like, because I think now they're building some sort of conservatory in the back.
Excellent.
It's wonderful. So that they've got to the point that they're naturally enhancing their relationships with each other, because their boy is growing up. You know, from year to year, they're doing different activities to include him. I think he's just learned to ride a bike, which is wonderful. Nice. And there's all sorts of, when you've got children, young children, you know, it's that relationship is constantly changing, isn't it, with you and your kids?
Yeah, different levels, absolutely. Different levels, different relationship, different conversations and communication styles that you have with them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how, and they're adults. My two are adults now. So
yes,
we went and we had a barbecue at friends at the weekend, and they're all adults. So our two sons are the same age, from the same months, and then the second two are, you know, similar age as well. And, you know, you're sitting there, not with children anymore. You're sitting there and you're having proper adult conversation and banter and, you know, joke and laughs. And it's really, it is, you know, a complete different level and a complete different relationship that we have now that what we had 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you know, for sure. For sure.
I'm glad that you said that, because we know that with our children, and we know everything has to change. Change is the only constant in life. Ironically, it's always happening. Our bodies are changing. Sometimes, you know, 5 or 10 years pass and we can't understand why we've got wrinkles. Well, that was 10 years ago, that picture, you know. Of course, our bodies are changing, which also means they're healing as well. So anything we've got wrong with us can be righted with the right environment, as we're exposed to. Our cells are always moving, changing, and evolving. But so are our relationships. And nothing reminds us more of that change than our children growing up. Now, that also has impact on our intimate relationships too, doesn't it? Those people who've been together a long time. And I just want to quickly point this out, that, you know, when perhaps you've got that job that you've been looking forward to for ages, you've gone to the interview, you've done this, you've done that, and then suddenly, in our younger days, we get the job and we think, yay, this is what I've studied for, I've won through, they've interviewed so many people and they've picked me. Isn't that wonderful? And then 10 or 20 years in the same job, it's like, how's your job going? Yeah, it's good, it's fine. Yeah. I've got that now. I'm looking for something else to expand my experience. So I'm getting very NLP with you now. There's certain things we need from life to feel fulfilled. It can be the same with a car. You know, oh, I'd really love this car. There's nothing wrong with the car I've got, but I'd really love that car. Oh, I've been saving up. You've got the car, and a few months later, somebody comments on it. Yeah, it's a nice car. Yeah, I've wanted it for a long time. Yeah. I've got that now. Well, and that can be the same with a relationship. You know, particularly when the children come along, etc. We kind of stop valuing and appreciating and having gratitude for. And I'm not saying become a doormat. You know, there's again a reciprocal thing going on here. But we do, in living of the mundane, kind of start to take each other for granted. And really, you are your gift to the other. The reason why you polish it and groom it and wash it and dress it and whatever is because Yes, you have a relationship with yourself. You want to keep those standards up, etc., particularly in lockdown. Hey? You
Yes.
haven't seen what I'm wearing on my lower half.
I'm not even standing up. I've got nothing.
That presentation we're doing in the Philippines, when the guy said it's going to be like a TED talk and we want you to be standing, we both thought, oh, I better attend to my lower half then. Standing doing a presentation. Yeah. So yes, we do certain things, of course, to be presentable and so that we feel good about ourselves. But ultimately, in the relationship, I think we forget it isn't the gifts, it isn't even the service, it isn't even the affirmation. It's quite often not the touch. It's us. We are the gift to the other. They see something in us, just like we do in them in a new relationship. Oh, aren't they wonderful? Oh, look what they do. Oh, I love this thing about them. I love that thing about them. Well, I think what we've got to remember, Claire, is that when we're loved, they're seeing that in us. I don't know whether you saw a while ago, well, a few days ago on Facebook, and yeah, I put businessy things on there. You know, I tell them that we're doing these things, etc. And I get a couple of likes here and there, and that's lovely. Makes me feel loved in a sense in my business. And I get lots of contact from all over the world now, and it's great. However, the other day I went to the park, and there's a lovely lake there, etc. And I just very roughly tied my hair back because I thought, oh, it's just getting too long now, blah, 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 blah. And you've probably seen on Facebook, there's a picture. It's my daughter, the photographer. And she said, Mom, just look up, stand by that tree and look up a minute. And I just put my head up and I was feeling the sun on my face and I gave a little smile. And she took these photographs and sent them to me afterwards. And I'm going to put one of these up on Facebook. And I got 72 likes. And I thought, how's that? Because what she wanted to do was to show me how she was seeing me and my lockdown hair. She said, oh, Mum, it's lovely because of the tree being dark and your hair's all golden. And I thought, oh, bless. She was showing me, she was able to show me how she was seeing me through her eyes. And I thought, oh, that made me feel wonderful. That made me feel as if I don't need to go and shave my head at the moment.
It's like that comment, isn't it, in Bridget Jones when she says, yeah, he likes me just the way I am.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, sometimes we do try to impress, or we try to show off and do this and do that but really, if you're showing off now, you can't, you know, and you're getting into a relationship and you're not the real person that, you know, you are, it will come out at one point or another.
It's a very good point. It's a very, very big difference between dating and living with someone. Of course there is. And meshing, fitting together so that you do different tasks, you have common areas of interest, and then you can be sparked by a conversation because they've had a different experience. Of course, there's all these aspects of relationship which are vitally important. So it's just too much work to pretend, isn't it? I mean, you can maintain that if you are dating, of course, but a proper relationship, even with our children, you know, they'll see the dark side of us.
And actually, that's the thing as well. You know, when you are with somebody, you know, you're taking the whole package, isn't it? It's the whole baggage. So you're able. I remember that picture or something where, you know, one of those inspirational quotes or whatever, and this big suitcase, and you know, if you're getting with somebody, you're taking the person and you're taking the suitcase as well, but then you can go on to a new journey. So you still have that, you know, they still have that history, that past, that experience, and all that becomes part of the package. You can't change past. You just, you know, you can only move forward together.
You can encourage that person and even yourself And this is where we come to how we regard ourselves, really. Everything that's gone before, as we've said, on the course is a memory. And how we relate that memory and our past relationships to our new relationship, or even to the renewed relationship with the same person, because we've experienced that particular situation differently. They might know that we're still hung up about when they did that thing 10 years ago, and talking about it and accepting it from their point of view can heal it for us. I mean, well, you don't remember, do you? Do. And we use a different voice tone. We have different pictures in our head. This is all pure NLP. Stuff comes from the past to haunt us. We make our new suitor, our new relationship responsible for the way we were hurt in the past. As if they need to suddenly make up for the stuff that's gone wrong with us. We need to kind of treat each moment as new and refer to the past when it's useful and heal the past when it's to our detriment, which is what NLP will do. Our memories are skipping around in our timeline, going into the past, projecting into the future, is something for us all to address. It's not just NLP, it's an examination of how we function. We're constantly referring to the past to project it into the future, to protect ourselves. So we can become so protected, Claire, that we stop receiving love. It's receiving is an active thing, being loved, knowing that you're loved. And I want people to recognize this phrase, that because I am loved. Now, that's whether you have somebody intimate in your life, whether you have children that love you, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's yourself, whether it's God, because I am loved. I'm changed because of it. Because I am loved, I'm going to do this thing. Because I love myself, I'm going to go and have a nice bath and give myself some time. Because I am loved. We are changed because we are loved. It's a function. It's a living, breathing thing, being loved. Because if we don't have that in our lives, in one shape or form, we do start to think, what's the point?
And on that point, I absolutely loved talking to you today, but I think we're going to have to stop here, because otherwise we'll be here all afternoon and people won't come and join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock for the next subject that we're going to discuss tomorrow, which, at the end of the day, it's been amazing just speaking to you with all. And I think we thought to ourselves, didn't we? Let's just have a topic and then see how it goes. And actually, we need to stop ourselves talking, don't we? During those little things, because otherwise we're going to continue all day. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking about reframing. It's a big one. Well,
you're going to be shutting me up again tomorrow, Claire, because I've already got so much more I could be talking about here, but now you've switched me to reframing. I could do this. I could do that. Yeah.
Reframing and NLP, and what does reframing means, and how does it help us? Really kind of changing our mind and positive, and that kind of mindset that we have, and all that chit chatter in our heads, which sometimes isn't very helpful, is it? No, not very helpful.
Yeah. Well, the same word means different things to different people, and that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow, because words and spelling are spells. They can work magic, or they can put us off. It's very important the way we speak to ourselves and how we speak to others. And I really hope this has been useful, this kind of being loved and loving idea, because it's so very, very important. I'm just going to add just a couple of submodality things in. You know what I'm talking about? This affirmation, service, gifts, and touch, these elements of love, want you to think about the submodalities, as we'd call it. What would be the frequency and the timing of these things as well? How many times do you want them to do the washing up? How frequently? When would it mean the most to you to have this thing done for you? And if we're into the idea of touch, I mean, how many times do people want to be physically intimate with each other? Oh, get off. You know, it might not agree with the other person. I don't want to stir things up too much in your relationships. It's time to address that frequency and timing of those elements as well. And that's it. I'll stop now, Claire. I will.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. And I mean, obviously, if anybody's got any questions, this is what it's for. Put your comments down below. Thank you for those who join us. So Xavier, you know, it's lovely to have you here as well. And Elise, it was just amazing just to pop down and see us. So thank you for being here. We hope that we added loads of values to you. And Jenny and I, we've put some freebies on the link that Jenny's put in the comment box. So go and click on the link and then download your happiness.
Yeah,
you know,
do for yourself. That's loving yourself.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
although you dressed up on the outside, think about dressing up on the inside. Because as much makeup as you put on, if you're wearing a frown and if your smile doesn't come through, then it's really going to affect the other person as well as yourself. Dress up on the inside, and then it will shine out from you.
Absolutely. And so if you want to watch back, you know, go back and watch the videos from Monday and Tuesday, and then watch how you can anchor, you know, that feeling, amazing feeling, being loved and loving yourself. This is another really good way to do it as well. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks, Jenny.
And you can still comment on this video. If you're watching the replay, comment on the other videos. Let us know what you think and how we can make this even better, even more value to you. Great stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
See you.